Hello everybody, my name is Christian Quick and welcome back to another video. Today, I thought I had this whole plan. I was gonna talk about everything that had to do with data, but then I realized that I'm gonna change that. So first, let's talk about what data is and how it's used. So in my Minecraft folder, in the data folder, there is WorldGen, and WorldGen is something that is completely new. Uh, Tags, I was going to talk about this, but it's a little bit complicated for what we have in the world now. I can always talk about it later when new things come into the game. Structures is new. Recipes is what we're actually going to be talking about, if you couldn't tell by the name of the video. Loot tables I was going to talk about, but technically for a block we already have the loot table, and there is other stuff such as chests, entities, and gameplay, and we haven't added any of these things. So it almost seems counterproductive to add those things. This will probably be more into it when we add things such as ores, because if we have an ore, then that I don't know. Uh, I don't know if I spelled it wrong or something, but the ores are in there. That's when stuff is more stuff for loot tables. Dimension type is something that's new. Um, I don't really know how to use the new stuff. Another thing that okay, data packs. We're making a mod. We're not making a data pack. I could probably show you how to make a data pack, but you could do that within a mod. It doesn't really matter. Whatever boat makes your boat float. Chat type is something that is completely new. We're going to be wearing that. And then the last thing is your advancements. Now this is going to be the second to last topic I'm going to talk about. Advancement recipes we will have in this video, but everything else is going to be a no-go. Recipes are so advancement recipes is when you finally get that item and it swoops in at the sides and says, you've touched water. You now have the crafting recipe for boats now. That is actually how it is crafted. Let me see if I can find it. Transportation, birch boat. Um, yeah, block in water condition. Condition block Minecraft water. If you enter the water block, you will reward recipes. You will get the boat. Um, they actually could have done every boat in one recipe, but they decided not to do that. Um, anyways, that is but as you can tell, data has actually come a long way. When I first started this, recipes, loot tables, I think data types, advancement tech, yeah, all the things that I know, though that was literally it for a long time. And it's just has always been that. But now with world gen structures, dimension type, chat type, all those being completely new, I don't think I can generally make a video on just this. So we're just gonna get to it as we go, but we're only going to be focusing on our recipes. Now, if you don't have a folder like this, that's fine. You can always go on the GitHub because what I'm about to do is something crazy. It's going to take a moment. So we're going to go into our HMH3. We are going to do a, not a refactor. We're going to do a new package. Oh, not even this. Ignore me. Ignore me. Resources. Let's actually, no, it needs to be on the side. We're going to go in our resources, and then we're going to add a new directory. That's why a package instantly threw me off, because it's called a directory. We're going to call it data. And then in our data, everything that is in our mod, we are going to call HMH3. And honestly, this is all for organization purposes. You don't have to put it in your own folder. You could put absolutely everything in a Minecraft folder, and it's not going to break anything, because data is special like that. I'm also going to the reason why I wanted this open is because I'm gonna move my data folder and I'm just gonna shove it in data. But instead of calling it data in a data folder, it's gonna be Minecraft in a data folder. This might take a second to load, and then when I load the world, it's also gonna take a second because it's gotta process my resources. So that's definitely gonna take a bit. Some stuff is going to be red, some stuff is going to not be red. Um, that'll be fine. We can full screen this now. And then we have all this. So whatever you put in your folder, if you're not going to be putting it in Minecraft folder, for most people do this for organization reasons. Um, you kind of have to like follow through with it. So whatever they call their folders, you're gonna have to call it your folders. I made this mistake with the advancement recipes where was just giving them random names and hoping it would pull up, and then it wasn't. So that's where I learned that they had to be the same. So if I do new directory, and we are going to be making the recipes recipes, and then we're also going to be making a folder called advancements, and advancements is going to have a folder called recipes. So I can just copy and paste it like that. It's not going to do anything. Advancement recipes, and then from here, in your recipes, I would recommend making a MISC. So here are all the names that you can use in your folder. Brewing, building blocks, combat, decorations, food, miscellaneous, redstone tools, transportation. Don't worry about the root. I don't even know what impossible is. It's an I don't even know what that is. Um, but whenever I just put everything in MISC sometimes. It just makes things easier. I'll point out later what they actually go to, but then let's talk about the recipes. So I actually, in the world, you can't have a loot table for an item. It doesn't make sense. You can't break an item because you can't place an item. A block is an item that can be placed in the world, so when you drop it, that's your loot table. But beyond that, we can drop and get cement from cement, but how do we get cement in the world? There currently is no way in the world to get cement. That is what we're working on. So how do I do recipes? I do it the cheesy way. I go online and I actually have a coding a special tab for this. So the destruct 7 ion, I don't know. Is that CA for Canada? I have no idea. But let's say for cement, right? If I said what is cement made out of, there's a particular image I looked up earlier. This one. It basically says made of limestone. It doesn't exist in the game. Clay does. Shells doesn't. And silica sand. So let's use clay and sand together to make cement. So I'm going to keep this open. And this is the first example. I'm going to do the super cheesy copy and paste. So I want to make it like concrete, but it's going to be cement. But I want to choose, I just want to choose like it, but I'm gonna get rid of the gravel. So let's look at concrete like this, and then we're just gonna copy the whole thing. Control C, and then we are going to recipes new file cement.json. Remember to have the JSON file. If you don't put the JSON file in it, it's not gonna recognize the file. It's gonna look wrong. So, I didn't mean to do that. Control F. I'm going to change all the gravel instances and change it into clay. So, and then the only thing I need to do from here, I would recommend taking this out of category. I'm not too sure what category is. I think it's talking about putting things in your recipe folder. Maybe. I'm not too sure. Building recipes. This is called building, this is called building blocks, so I'm going to guess not. If you don't know what something does, I would recommend getting rid of it. So the thing is, if you have something in your game and you don't know what it is and you put it in, if it's creating bugs or issues, then whatever you have, let's say I made 100 files and I all had that thing in there and it started breaking the game, then I have to go through 100 files and fix it. If you don't know what something is, I'd recommend taking it out and only using things that you know what they are. But if you're experimenting and testing something, go for it. Use it as much as you want. The black dye, in this case, back to the recipes, I'm not going to be using this, so we're going to just delete So now we have our ingredients. So from this bracket all the way here, we have each an individual ingredient. This is basically saying it doesn't matter how it's thrown in there. That's why it's called Minecrafting shapeless. It's basically saying that it doesn't matter if there's 1, 2, 3, 4 sand in there, and as long as there's 1, 2, 3, 4 clay in there, I don't care how it's shoved in the crafting table. If there's 4 sand and 4 clay, you're going to be getting your, well, right now it says concrete powder, HMH3, CEMENT, your cement. We'll keep the count as 8, and yeah, we're just going to keep the count as 8. So now we have our recipe. So now there's that. But we have it in this group called concrete powder. Um, let's not have that. I'll explain to you what groups are, and if you feel like using them, you can, but I'll wait until I open up the world to show you. So now this recipe exists, but if I currently put something in the game, it's not going to quite tell me I have it yet. So let's go in our advancement, recipes, miscellaneous, and then let's look at bricks, for example. So bricks, if I were to, let's copy the whole thing, Control C. I almost just deleted the whole thing. Nope. Miscellaneous, new file, and then we're going to call this cement.json, and then back it all the way, Control V. All right. So now we have the brick recipe. And brick recipe basically works if you have clay in your inventory, you're gonna get bricks. That's the basics of it. Let's change has clay ball to item because we're gonna probably copy and paste this in the future. So has the recipe is fine. Has clay ball right there. Has item. So now let's try and break this down. So parent is coming from the Minecraft recipes root. We're not going to worry about that. The criteria is has items, the conditions that need to be made. So has item comes down to two things. The conditions, and the condition is your items. So this is specifying what item it is. So right now it's talking about clay ball. Let's change this to what item we want. And that is because the other thing in has item is trigger. So trigger Minecraft inventory changed. So right now this is saying that if a clay ball enters my inventory, because it's going to change my inventory, it wasn't in there, and suddenly it's in there, it's going to trigger this has item effect. So it's talking about specifically clay ball right now. So for cement, let's say we want this to be Minecraft sand, and we can actually copy this, and we can also put in clay. So now when you have a Boolean statement kind of shoved in like this, this is basically saying your inventory change. It's not saying sand and clay, it's a comma. So this is basically saying if you have sand or clay, it doesn't matter which one, whichever one touches your inventory first is going to trigger this event of you having the item. The second thing in here is called has the recipe. This is basically saying does the recipe exist? Because if it doesn't, there's not really much you can do. So right now it's basically saying if I get sand or clay in my inventory, it's going to look and see if Minecraft brick recipe exists in the game. It does, but it wouldn't make sense to make the attachment here. So let's change it to HMH3 cement. And so now this is saying if I have sand or clay in my inventory and this recipe called cement does exist, then as long as those things are unlocked, then I've completed the requirements. And so my reward for completing those requirements, I unlock this in my crafting table. So let's come back in here, and we can call it HMH3 CEMENT. So now we have fully unlocked it, and that is exactly what this is. So if I get sand or clay, it will check if I have this, and if I have it while these are in my inventory or has been placed in my inventory at some point, then it's going to give me the recipe. So that is how recipe advancements work. the recipes themselves, there is a couple things that you could be doing, but we're gonna describe that through here. So let's make ourselves a beating stick. To use this, let's just simply look up stick for this whole example, and we're gonna put one, and we're gonna change the name when we copy and paste the file at the end. But let's first talk about this for example. I'm gonna put a sticky piston in here on purpose. So right now, this is basically saying type shaped, and here is the pattern. So we have a hashtag and a slash mark. And to me right now, that means absolutely nothing. It's just basically saying if something is on top of something. So we're going to need this key. This hashtag is basically saying it's an item called Minecraft Sticky Piston, and then this slash is item.minecraftStick. So now that makes a lot more sense. So if I have a hashtag, meaning sticky piston, if I have a sticky piston on top of a slash stick, then this will now create a result of Minecraft stick. And that doesn't quite make sense. If I have it as, so that's what these keys mean. If we look and turn this into shapeless, so that will be the same exact as our recipe here. You can see how there is no key. It's basically saying if it is basically shoved in there, it doesn't matter. There is no key or pattern. So as long as your item and your ingredients, so this is kind of like a pot. As long as you put in your sticky piston and your stick in the melting pot, it'll give you a stick. In this current example, you'd be wasting a sticky piston every time. You just get your stick back. Um, Getting rid of this, you have your 2x2 grid. I I never I never use this. It doesn't matter because this is in a 2x2 grid. This is basically saying if I have it like this, it like in a 3x3 grid, it's basically copying the pattern. So as long as the pattern is that, it doesn't matter if it's a 2x2 grid or not. The pattern is going to change. But if I do this, the pattern will change. If I go over here, the pattern will change. I like how it changed the hashtag mark. But now let's do something. I did that so that you can see that there's two different things, hashtag and slash. So let's make something that makes more sense. Let's kick this out of here, put a stick in, and now we got two sticks because now it's saying here's your pattern, here's your slash mark, and the stick. So now it's basically saying if I have a stick here and a stick here, you'll get your stick. If you want it to matter, if your stick can be possibly placed here, here, it can be placed here or here. It's the only four places that you can possibly put your stick. If you only want it, let's say in the top right and left, and you want this space open, um, then just do exactly where placed. And it will add these extra spaces in here that are basically nothing. Now, there is no key for air. It's just saying nothing. So it means that there has to be nothing in these slots for it to work. And that kind of makes sense because even when we don't have exactly replaced, you'll notice that the spaces are still there. So there has to be nothing in those spots for you to get the result stick. And I think for this example, we don't need any of these. We do have our shape, and then we have our two lines here. So I think this is good. So let's copy this and go back into the code real quick. Let's go in our recipes and let's add a new file and let's call it beatingstick.json. And then let's copy and paste this. And the only thing that we need to change is Minecraft stick. I feel like that's perfectly fine. But this is not making an it's not making a Minecraft stick. It's going to be making an HMH3 beating stick. So now we have this recipe. So recipes, like you can tell, like in our like our assets, and then when we have like textures, we have block and item, block and item. When it comes down to data, we don't need to specify block or item. It doesn't really matter. All recipes are recipes, whether you're making a block or making an item. Could you do it like that? Yes, but is it unreasonable? Questionable. So do what you want, do what you want, do what you feel. But in this example, we put all the recipes in there. But now, if I was to, if I got a stick in my hand, um, I wouldn't know what the recipe is. I would have to remember it, and that's why we have to have these advancements. So miscellaneous, let's do the same thing. So let's get rid of cement. Let's call it the beating stick. And so let's go through it again. Let's just kind of quickly go over. So the has item, sand or clay, does not make sense. So we're going to get rid of that, and we're going to call it stick. So now if I have Minecraft stick, and if I have the recipe, it's going to be called beating stick, because that is what we called it here. If I have these two conditions, then I will have completed both requirements, and then my reward will be unlocking the beating stick recipe. So now, let's take a look, a gandering look, and see what it looks like in the game. I also, while it's loading, because it's going to take a while, because remember what I said about processing resources, so it's going to take a minute. While it is processing my resources, I want to try and explain the group. So you have your type, and then we can actually do this. We can do colon group, and then we can do colon like this, and then we can do let's call it actually groups don't have a name. We can just call this mod. So and then we can just copy this group in here, cement, and then we can just put it in here. Let's have this restart again. This time it'll go a lot faster. So now if I have this group and mod, everything will be in the same group. Now the last thing that you could talk about is tags. So if I have like the acacia boat, no, not the acacia boat. Let me think of something with a tag. If I look up the soul, actually a wooden sword is better to. So basically, the thing that makes a wooden sword special is the actual sword piece. So in our imagination, the stick is the handle, and our planks is the is well, there's oak planks, a birch plank, spruce planks. There's all the planks, and they all seem to work in there. So that is when you would use tag instead of item. And to look up tags and put them together. So let's for a moment let's take a look at the game real quick. Let's put this in full screen. So I would recommend that if you are going to be making a just a thing to look at your new advance, like to see if your advancements are working, I would recommend just making a new world. So all right, so here I have found some sand. If I break it, and then it goes to my inventory, it says that you've unlocked all these nice little recipes. Oh, I saw it, I saw it, I saw it. So it did work. And a good way to tell if it worked, let's make planks, but let's not make the sticks, because the stick will unlock the other, the beating stick recipe. So in this example, let's show you what it looks like when you do it and when you don't do it right. So I have my thing, and if I see there is no beating stick, it does not exist, but cement does, because I did pick up the sand. So if it's not in here, it didn't work. Your advancement didn't work, but the recipe does work. You can just see if it exists. And it is very important that you get your advancement recipes working, because if they're not working, you're going to have to remember the recipe by heart. So let's make the stick and make sure that the other recipe is working. So we've got stick, campfire, shovel, crossbow, sword. Oh, there it was. After this, the beating stick, and it is right here. So we have ourselves the beating stick. Pretty good, pretty good. So one of the things I wanted to talk about as well is there is group. So this is your Minecraft concrete group. It is when it opens up in a tab like this. There are many things where the recipes are so similar that it's just best to keep it like this. But and we actually have that in which we have mod. So you can tell how it's going to scroll through cement and beating stick because I added that group at the end. So it now will keep everything in our mod in here. I'm not going to do this. This is just for example purposes. I'm not going to put this for every item we put in here unless I think we could. I think we'll be able to manage because I don't think I'm going to be making that much stuff. But basically what happens is your thing will go all the way to the left, and then your thing will go all the way top down until you just can't see it anymore, and it'll just keep extending your infinite list. The only thing that we have not talked about is cycling in a recipe. So you can see how Soul Campfire here isn't rotating, but if I click on the recipe, the stuff in it is rotating. And we talked about this when I said the Minecraft sword. There are so many types of planks that you can put in, um, but it's just going through. There's so much. So first, let's talk about, or actually last now, let's talk about tags and how tags affect your recipes. So we I mentioned how you have tags, but then how do you make tags? If you were to make your own custom tab, let's drag all the way to the top because we don't really need this open anymore. If I wanted to make a tag, for recipes exactly, you have your tag, and then your tags can be used for just about anything, not just recipes, but literally everything else you can have a tag for. So tags are a little bit annoying to go through. There didn't used to be as many tags back in the day, but now Minecraft has gone like super ridiculous with the amount of tags. So here we have Minecraft planks, and if I go in here, Minecraft planks is considered. You have all of these plank types. So if I was to make a tab, I can actually add it into here, and then when I look at the wooden sword, it will be under Minecraft, and then whatever the custom name is. You can put it under your thing. It doesn't really matter. So I would do like I would call it directory. I would call it tags, and then in this example, I would go and do this where I do directory items. And in items, I want to make what do I want my tag name to be? So let's call it sticks, right? Oop, can't just be sticks. I mentioned this earlier. All right. So sticks dot JSON. If you forget JSON, the world ends. It's terrible. All right, planks. So now let's just copy and paste this into our sticks. And obviously, this is not all the sticks we're gonna have. So let's say we got Minecraft stick, and then for here we want to add, let's say HMH3 colon beating stick. So now this does exist in the game. So now if I had a recipe in our thing, I could call tag anywhere I want, and it should definitely work. Um, but this would seem most effective to override Minecraft recipe. So if I wanted to go into not just tags, but if I wanted to go like let's say recipes, and let's take a look at the a ladder, right? A ladder is made out of it would say this, but if I simply just said tag, and then I did Minecraft, not Minecraft anymore. If I did HMH3 and called it sticks, so let's see if it worked. All right, we are now back in the game and we have a bunch of sticks. So if I look up ladder, we can make it with our stick, but let's replace it with a beating stick. And you notice that it doesn't matter how I put it in, as long as it's got there. And it also doesn't matter how many. So if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I guess 5. Um, so now we have a beating stick. So if I do like this, As long as it is in that shape, it doesn't matter if I use a beating stick or a stick, it will be able to make the ladder. So that is how we also use tags, and that is also how we use Minecraft overriding, in which we will change something that is Minecraft's, and so now it's still possible to make this. If I wanted to get rid of a recipe, make something like a little bit more rare, you can actually take a recipe that exists, and then you can just basically do this, make it nothing, and with that in mind, it'll make it so that you cannot it just won't do anything. It'll get rid of it, but I'm not going to do that for this poor lantern here. But that is everything that I'm going to explain on recipes. If I feel that there's anything more that we'll be talking about, um, with just recipes themselves, I mean, I guess I'll mention it. There are custom blocks that we can make in which they will have their own recipe type. But that's definitely way too complicated and way further down the line. The big thing right now is we can now just customize anything that we make. So whether it is cement, whether it is beating sticks, whatever new thing we make, we now know how to make custom items, custom blocks. We now for those custom blocks we can make loot tables so that they drop themselves when we break them, and um, we now know how to make recipes so that we can make those items exist in survival. So that is going to be all for today. So thank you guys so much for watching, and without further ado,